In this video, we will study some main terms of statistic. So first, what is statistic? Statistic is a science of gathering, describing, and analyzing data. Or you can another definition of statistic or another meaning is statistics are the actual numerical descriptions of sample data. So, language of statistics, you will often hear the word variable. Its definition is a characteristic or value that changes among members of the group. Variables whose values are determined by chance are called random variables. Variables may be numerical or categorical. Numerical variables take on values with equal units such as weights in pounds and time in hours. Categorical variables place the person or things into a category. Data is the counts, measurements, or observations gathered about a specific variable in a group in order to study it. Datum is a single value. Two words that you will see a lot in our statistics study are population and sample. We're interested in a population, but we cannot ask everyone in the population the same question and collect the data. So we have to study a sample. So the population is a particular group of interest. It consists of all persons or things being studied. For example, all the students in BHCC, that is a population. Okay, or all the adults in the US, that is a population. The governors of the 50 United States, that is a population. On the other hand, sample is a subset of the population from which data is collected. Care must be taken in choosing the sample so that the population is represented well and the result of the study are meaningful. For example, 1,000 adult Americans surveyed to determine if he or she favors the legalization of marijuana. That is a sample. 28 GHC students in Mrs. Ralston's class survey to determine the height. That is a sample. This is a visualization to help you understand the relationship. The population is the group that we're interested in and is always big. A sample, on the other hand, is a subset of the group or part of the population and is small that we can study. Two things that we use to describe a population or a sample. We use perimeter to describe population and we use statistic to describe findings in a sample. So a perimeter is a numerical description of a particular population characteristic. It's a fixed number, but it's often impossible or impractical to determine it precisely because human limitations. Usually the best we can do is estimate a population's true perimeter. Statistic is an actual numerical description of a particular sample. It can vary from sample to sample. The sample must contain the characteristic of the population in order to be representative sample. Here is some comparison of population and sample. Population is a whole group. Sample is part of the group. Population is a group that I want to know about, and sample is a group that I can and I do know about. Population characteristics are called perimeters. Sample characteristics are called statistics. Perimeters are generally unknown. Statistics are always known. Or at least we can find out. Perimeters is fixed. Statistics change with the sample. Let's take a look at some example and determine the statement describing a population or a sample. The ACT score of all students in a math class, okay, keyword all students, and that's the population that we want to understand. Okay, so this statement describes a population. The television show watched by 1,045 families from across the US. And this statement should describe a sample, and the reason is that's a sample size, 1,045. It's just part of all the family in the US. Example number 3, the height of 15 out of 30 plants in a greenhouse is a sample. And why is a sample? Is say 15 out of 30. Okay, it's not the whole, it's just part of the whole. Okay, again, we want to identify whether the following statement describe a population or a sample. An education professor wants to know the hometown of student attending Yale University. She obtained a list of registered students from the registrar's office and randomly chose 300 students to survey. So this statement describes two things here. The first thing, okay, the professor wants to know the hometown of student. Okay, so in this case, it's all the students that are registered. So that is the population. On the other hand, the 300 students surveyed is a sample. So we're interested in all the registered students in the population, and we survey 300 students in a sample. Now number 5, a hotel chain wants to build a new facility. The board of directors use a list of the top 100 vacation spots in America and visit 200 of the city on the list to determine their feasibility as the new hotel's location. So we try to understand what is the population in this scenario. The population is something of interest. What the board of directors are interested in are the top 100 vacation spots, and that is a population. And for the sample, they visited 20 of the cities, and that is the sample, okay, part of the whole top 100. Another example, we want to identify if the numerical value in each statement describe a perimeter or a statistic. So remember, perimeter describe the population characteristic, And a statistic describes a sample characteristic. Okay, population begin with P, parameter begin with P, sample begin with S, statistic begin with S. That's another way to understand the association. So number 6, 35% of all graduating seniors from Kennesaw State University received a degree in business. The key word here is all graduating senior. It's the entire group that you're interested. So this 35% describe a parameter. Number 7, the average height of a sample of men entering the armed force is 6.1 feet. So this 6.1 feet is a statistic because it's just a sample. Number 8, the student in Mr. Ralston's math classes have an average of 2.5 siblings. It depends on what the situation is, but in this case, we're talking about the students, and we assume it's all the students. So in that case, 2.5 sibling is a parameter.